Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. With over 1,000 NCAA commitments, the EHL is the proven path to college. Turn it up and learn more about the college placement leader at the Division II and III levels.
Welcome into the E-Show. Once again, my name is Neil Ravin. This is episode number 9 of the year, brought to you by Gel 6, the official training aid of the E-Show. And this week, I want to welcome in the Philadelphia Junior Flyers. First, it's the head coach and general manager, Jerry Domish. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Jerry.
Thanks for having us.
And you got Billy McDevitt with you. Thanks, Billy.
Yep, thanks for having me.
And we'll jump right into it with you, Jerry. Now getting set for the postseason. You know your opponent. We're working on the dates and the times for the games with the RoughRiders. All the games are going to be in Connecticut. How do you feel about your team's chances going into the first round?
I feel pretty good. The last series we played them tough. In fact, the last game we played them, we beat them in overtime. So I think we can compete with them. It depends on which team shows up.
And Billy, we'll jump over to you. This is obviously your third year with the program. It's been a different team each year. How do you feel about this year's team heading to Connecticut next week?
This team has definitely come a long way from the start of the season. With my time being here, definitely my most improved team. And we're feeling pretty confident going into this weekend. And
Jerry, for Billy, he just used the word improved. And as a 99, one of the leaders on your team, his improvement has been very crystal clear with each and every year. The point totals have gone up each year. As I mentioned, he's a captain for your team now. Can you just speak to what Billy has meant to your program the last few years?
Yeah, just so everybody realizes, when he first walked in the door here, he was on our EHL team. And to give you his character, we were at training camp, and I noticed him, and I asked him to come over to the camp for the EHL team. And from that point, he never looked back. He took somebody's spot during camp, very unexpected. And I think his leadership shows that because that's who he is day in and day out. He's here to outwork everybody, no matter who's on the ice.
And that's kind of an interesting story, Billy. And I'm guessing when you first arrived with the Junior Flyers, was that your main goal to send a message to prove people wrong?
Yeah, of course. When I came to Jerry, I wanted to play for the EHL team, and it just wasn't my time over the summer. And, I trained all summer in the weight room and on the ice. And then coming into camp, my head frame, my mentality was to make the EHL team by the end of camp. And he gave me the shot, and I just took with it. I just took it and ran with it.
And we'll stick with you here. When you first met Coach Domish, you're a kid from New York. As I mentioned, you spent your entire junior hockey career with the Junior Flyers. Can you take us back to that recruitment process and how it all worked out with the Junior Flyers?
Yeah, I really didn't know too much about junior hockey coming into this. I'm the only person in my family that's ever played hockey, and me and my dad just kind of did what we could to learn more about it. And I have family in the area, and a couple people gave me his contact information. So I was talking to a couple junior teams previously, and this one really stuck out to me. We have great facilities here, and a lot of pros have come into play here. So that's kind of why I chose to play for the Junior Flyers.
And Jerry, he's not your only player on the team, of course. He is the leading scorer, one of the captains, but you have another whole set of lineup of players to watch here and into the postseason. And one thing that's really stood out to me all year with the Junior Flyers is you've just rotated all 3 goalies in. I'm not going to ask you who you're going to in the playoffs here, but what is it about having 3 different goalies that you could call on at any time during the year?
It's been really good. As you know, Dynan was the all-star goalie. And then we have Hansen, who's from Sweden, who I think is outstanding. He's got a lot of schools talking to him. And then we're sitting there with an 0-1 from Michigan, Boot, who I feel probably, if he was on another team, would probably be a 1-2. So we're very fortunate that we probably have 3 kids that at any day could be the starter.
And I'm not going to ask you who's starting in the playoffs. We'll find out when the series begins.
I wasn't going to give you an answer.
We'll find out when the series begins with the RoughRiders. They're kind of a team in the similar situation with 3 different goalies that they've rotated throughout the year. Billy, we'll go back to you. You said you feel confident going into the series with the RoughRiders and having already played them 4 times. Are there any players on that team that you know you have to watch out for in the series?
They are a very skilled team. They're very fast. And I think if we can just lock them down, keep them to the outside of the rink, we'll be able to handle it.
And Jerry, back over to you here. I touched on the goalies. We touched on McDevitt. You already have, Dinan's committed, Ward's committed. I'm sure there's some more coming. Who are some other players whose names maybe we haven't talked about as much that we should watch for in this playoff series?
We have a few. Jonathan Gabriel, big center. He was a highlight in when we played the Revolution in his 3-goal hat trick in the shootout. You got Colby Walters, who's really improved. You talk about improvement. He's an 0-1 kid that came from the Mission. Probably was a 4th-line bottom forward on our team at the beginning of the year. And if you watch him now, he's as good as any second-line center in the league. So those 2 guys, including our other captain, Shane Ward, are guys that definitely stand out.
And I'm glad that you brought up the shootout because I wanted to at some point. Billy, as I mentioned, you're a captain on this team. I've seen this now multiple times throughout the year. I know Jerry is one guy that likes to do it a lot, but I've seen teams go back to the same shooter consistently during a shootout. And, of course, the example that Jerry's using there is the game against Revolution where Gabriel scored 3 times. As another forward on the team, when you see the same shooter keep going out there, is it discouraging, or are you kind of more excited for that player in that situation?
No, I mean, when you're hot, you're hot. Keep going. I loved seeing that. It was great to see Gabe be able to do that and kind of showcase some of his hands and his skill. And I'll tell you up front, I have trouble in breakaways, so I kind of like seeing the other guys, take over and play that role for the team.
Did you know he had that in him? Like, is he a kid that shows that a lot in practice?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got a lot of skill, a ton of skill. He's just developing his game is what he's got to focus on.
And Jerry, it's become more well-known. This is the last year for the junior Flyers, so I don't want to go too far back down memory lane, but I did want to touch on, recent years for the program and talk to you a little bit about that 2016-17 team, the year when you won it all. I know it's been a few years now, but are there ever moments when you catch yourself thinking back to that season?
Quite a few, I think, Billy. I'll tell you, I use those as examples a lot. And the funny thing is, those players have always stayed in contact. Like, they're all playing college hockey, and I'll get texts from them on a regular basis. They all, even with each other, they all stay in contact. That's been the great thing about having the opportunity to coach a junior team. Even the year we won it, kids who played previously in the program, I must have had 7,500 texts that night from kids who had played here before that were congratulating the program. So that's a lot of good memories. And
I know it's been a few years. They're different teams. The goalie that year, Mac Vale, was 6'6". It's different for you now. How do the teams compare though? What can this team do that team did heading into the postseason?
Well, I actually hung a thing in the locker room. I showed them the team stats from that whole season.
Oh God!
And but we had nobody with as many points as Billy that year, if you look it up.
Really?
But in the postseason, we had kids that played 12 games that scored like 16, 17 points.
Yeah.
So the reason I posted that is to let them know it's a whole new season. Like, if you look, Luke Benitez had a hat trick in that championship game with in the last 3 minutes of the game. And Luke, up until then in the playoffs, probably, and in the regular season, was probably our 5th leading scorer.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of somebody getting hot, feeling good about themselves, and the team following. And I think you saw it, because in that season, we were on the bottom for the first half of that season. and we climbed as the season went on. I think we went on a 17-game winning streak at one point. So it's just a matter of who gets hot at the right time.
And I think just to bring it all full circle, what really stood out to me looking back at that year was Mac Vail, who I touched on. He began the season with the RoughRiders to come totally full circle. He wasn't having the best year at the start of the year, but down the stretch, he was your anchor. And you're not going to tell us who's in goal against the RoughRiders. I totally understand that. We'll find out when we turn on hockey TV this weekend. But you feel confident. Billy feels confident. This is your first round matchup. From there, you would likely get the 87s. Billy, are you just focused more on this series? You can't look too far ahead, of course, right?
Yeah, of course not. You take it one period at a time, one shift at a time, and see what happens. Go from there.
Well, there you have it, folks. They are the Philadelphia Junior Flyers. Jerry, I want to really thank you for all of your time. I'm sure we'll be speaking here, but as I mentioned, this is the last year for the Junior Flyers, so maybe there is one last magical run in there for you.
Thanks. Hopefully.
Yeah, good luck this weekend, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Jerry and Billy for coming on the podcast with me this week. And before I jump into things with my crew and start talking about fantasy and other stuff going on around the league, I want to make sure I bring in Joe Sindoni. He's been the broadcaster for the Junior Flyers for, I don't even know however long he's been the broadcaster for, but it feels like it's been forever. But Joe, I want to make sure I have you on the podcast here before things end for the Junior Flyers. So welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, appreciate it. No, thanks for having me on. It's always good to talk to you. It's been a while, so it's glad to hear from you again and catch up on a few things.
So you tell me, how many years have you been the broadcaster for?
So I started in 2013, but I started filming with them. So I was filming the games. I was just kind of filling in when their main camera guy couldn't make it. And then after the 2013 season, they brought me on to start calling the games.
And you're a Junior Flyers fan deep at heart.
Sure.
You're now pulling as hard as you possibly can against the RoughRiders so that you can get at least one more game, right?
Right, of course. I mean, what broadcaster, wants to take it away from themselves? So, of course, I could be greedy and want another game.
It's always tough this time of year because that 125-mile rule that we have, like, if you're the lower seed, it seems unfair, but we can't go back and forth.
It's too tough at this level. It's a lot to ask for. When you're kind of doing it at this level, it's too much because it's better that way. Even if it does go, even when the first round's best of 3, even the third game's up in the air. So if you're that team on the road, you got to book something and be like, well, it's not guaranteed. I won't know until then. So it gets tough.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's going to sound. Whenever I say that, 20-year-olds get tired, I always kind of feel myself saying really, they can't be that tired. But to go back and forth, I think ultimately the play on the ice would diminish a little bit too. Sure. But, it's all funny because I always think back to the year before we went to Providence for the Frozen Finals. We've done Providence 2 years in a row. 2017-18 season and 2018-19 season, but that 2016-17 season, that was a special year for the Junior Flyers, and nothing can be easier scheduling-wise than when your opponent is. How far are the Little Flyers from you? 20 miles?
Yeah, between the ice line and the works, it's probably right around 20 miles. It's a quick ride.
Yeah, so a best of 5 game series in the championship series. I think it was over 12 days or so, but that made sense to be able to go back and forth in that scenario.
Right. That was definitely lucky. It was cool because, we were the 2 top ranked teams that year in the final. Being next door neighbors was, all the more sweet.
And this is part of the main reason why I wanted to bring you on. I love the EHL Frozen Finals. I love the concept. I love the fact that we've created an event out of it. I think it's huge for the league, but I'll always remember that year.
Right.
Because
that was incredible. And Tom is a friend of mine who does the Little Flyers. We've been going back and forth for years, and, we share whether related or not. It's a good friend. I have a lot of respect for him, but that year all the time just because, the stands were packed. The Iceworks was, loaded every game there. The ice line in Westchester was loaded every game. it was a packed house, and it was really amazing. It was a tremendous atmosphere for that series.
And like, just to go back in that year, I touched on it with Coach Domish. Like, you guys bring in Mac Vale, who wasn't having the best start of the season, funny, with the RoughRiders, the team that you're facing this weekend. And then, like, I use the word wagon a lot this year. Like, the junior Flyers and little Flyers that season, they were each wagons. Like they ripped through the regular season. Like, it wasn't even fair at some points.
Jerry did a good job. He picked up a lot of guys along the way. If you remember, Barry Needler, obviously he was a big part of everything, especially in the playoffs, but he didn't start the year with the junior Flyers. Matt Manning, both of them often committed to college. He didn't start the season with the junior Flyers. Obviously, Cody Murch went down with an injury. He had 16 wins and as a goaltender and had to leave to get hip surgery. And, in stepped Mac Vale. But at the break of that season, midway through, the junior Flyers, weren't being talked about really at all because we were about 5th, 6th. And then the second half of the season came, and they didn't lose a game in regulation until the second round of the playoffs against the Wizards.
I was going to test you there for a second and ask you who the team was.
It was an incredible playoff run because the first round, they had to play the Hartford Junior Wolfpack, a team that eliminated them 3 years in a row. Then they swept them. Then you had to play the Cinderella team and the Wizards because I think that was their second year in the EHL, I think.
Second or third, but they were like a 7 seed that year.
Yeah, they were like a Cinderella team. They had a good squad that year. And after that, they had to take down the Monarchs, who were the reigning champs, and then you took on the best team. Like, it was an incredible playoff run when you think about it overall. It was amazing.
And then let's start. Game 1 was an overtime win for the Little Flyers, right?
Right, correct.
Yes, in Aston. We shift back to Westchester, game 2. I want to say it was like 4-2 or something like that.
That was game 2. Yeah, that was the first one with the ice line, correct.
And then game 3, everyone went home, or at least I went back home to Maine at the time because that was the first weekend. And I went back home, and then we came back down like 5 days later. And game 3 was like a 3-0 victory for the Little Flyers, and everyone thought like this is over.
Right, because they were coming back to the ice line for game 4, right? Because it was like the 3 games in 3 days, I think, is how that season went.
Yes. Well, if you remember correctly, I actually had booked a trip to Detroit that year.
Right, I remember talking about this now.
My dad's from Michigan, and we wanted to see. It was the final year of the Joe. So
right, exactly, yeah.
The 3-0 win for the Little Flyers was Friday. I flew out at like 5 a.m. out of Philly Saturday morning, caught a Tigers-Red Sox game and then a Red Wings-Canadiens game, stayed one night in Detroit Saturday, then flew back to Philly for Game 4 Sunday, which was like the game of the series because Little Flyers were up by 2 goals with I want to say 8 minutes left. It was late.
Yeah, it was in the third period. There wasn't too much time going on, and that year the Little Flyers were incredible. I mean, as we're talking about, obviously we're talking about the junior Flyers, but the Little Flyers were unstoppable that year. They scored. If you went to the bathroom when the period started, you probably missed 3 goals that year. I mean, the Little Flyers just scored at will. It was insane.
Yes, and then you guys scored 2 in a row to come back, force overtime, and then double overtime, and it was Barry Needler from the red line almost, right? He just threw it on goal.
Right, Barry tied the game. And I think left in the third period. And then it goes through the overtime, double overtime. And I'll never forget, because, I was pretty close to the team. I talked to all the players and all that. And just talking to Barry about it, when I asked him, he was like, dude, I was exhausted. I didn't even realize it went in at first. I just heard everybody yelling. And it was hysterical because we were just talking, just having – because Barry was never – and he'll tell you, he was never a strong skater. He just could shoot. That was his, he could fire the puck. He had a heavy shot. It was like, he didn't want to be in the way of that thing. And he was at the red line at the end of his shift. And was like, I'm just throwing it on. And it just happened to go in. And it was, an unexplainable thing. You wouldn't think that would happen, especially in the finals. But, and then that brought him on the game 5.
Yes. And then game 5, the Little Flyers are up by 2 goals again late.
Right. That was less than 5 minutes to go.
And then
I think
who scored 3 in a row.
Yeah, well, I think it was Peterson who put the Little Flyers up.
Yes.
By 2 with less than 5 minutes to go. I remember because you were on the air with Tom and you were switching duties with us and hanging out with us, whatever team home. So I was in the stands with the families, but I still have a job. I'm still in the corner, not really making sure all the dates are going through and all that. And everyone's like, oh man, and getting upset. I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like, hey man, the way that this series is going, I mean, if you can score from the red line and live another day, you never know what's going to happen. So I just kind of sat in the corner there, just seeing everything went down, and wow.
It was Luke Benitez, right? Who scored all 3 goals. That's what Jerry was saying. I'm blanking on it. It was Luke, I think, right?
It was, yeah. Benitez had the overtime winner and then the tying goal.
Yeah, I've never experienced a game or a series like that again. I remember thinking to myself when they scored 2 in a row to come back and force overtime, just the look on the Little Flyers' face was like, oh my God, how did this happen? It felt over almost.
And it's the playoffs too, so it's not like go to the bench for 2 minutes, have 3 rounds. You had to sit in the locker room and regroup. And both teams, obviously the Junior Flyers were on a crazy high, and Little are trying to bounce back. And it's just, you had to sit there, wait for the ice to get cleaned and everything. So you had to just sit there and dwell on it. And I remember at that, you and I were talking about it, and we were just, it just feels like another night where it can go on forever, because the night before was the double overtime. And, we got out of the ice line. It was almost midnight when we left game 4. It was how could a game with another overtime? It was insane. 3 overtimes in 5 games. And it felt like, that series, was best of 5. But if that was best of 7 or best of 9 or best of 11, I think they just kept going. We could be here today, and I still think they would still be going. Who knows who's going to get that second win, get 2 in a row. It was insane. It was an evenly matched two of the top teams. It was rare because, both the teams are in the same conference, the way the playoffs had, split up that year thing. But, I mean, there's 2 of the top teams going at it, and it was incredible to watch. And, I'm honored just to say that I was able to be there and call those games, because it was amazing.
Yeah, it's like I said, I love what we do in Providence each year. But if I could guarantee, if I could pick the matchup that I wanted for a best of 5 series and guarantee it, I would go back to that, right?
You want to just win, and yeah, sure, why not? I mean, we don't want to.
That's what it was, right? And the Little Flyers beat the Rockets that year to get to the finals, and the Rockets team that year was stacked also. You mentioned Alex Peterson, who's at Holy Cross now. That Rockets team had Matt Brown on it, who went on to play in the USHL as well, and now is the leading freshman in all of Division I hockey. That year, there were just a few more D1 players in the league, and the Final Four was perfect. The final was perfect, and it was just, when you work 7 months on one season and then it comes down to overtime, it feels like you cannot touch that. Overtime of the deciding game of a playoff series, nothing can top that in any sport ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most Cinderella ending you would want. That's what you dream about when you're kids. You want to score the game-winning goal or get the touchdown or the game-winning shot, the buzzer beater. And, you can write this stuff, and, we're lucky that we could say that it was part of the history in the EHL, because, you and I go back and forth all the time, it was one of the best final series there was, just because of the amount of the amount of players that were committed to colleges that year. The Junior Flyers went through a ton of injuries that year. They had 12 players they had 12 commitments that year, and the Little Flyers had a ton as well, and they were just steamrolling people. And then the Junior Flyers had the late surge. It was just, immovable object, unstoppable force. It was the perfect storm, man.
So, great final question now. How do you get this year's team fired up with motivation, if you will, from that year's team?
Well, Tommy Doherty, the captain from that championship team, and Barry Needler are still playing at Newman. So I think Jerry needs to make a phone call. Newman University is right down the street. So I think he needs to make a phone call to them, and they can come over to the ice line and talk. The Junior Flyers, they've been having a tough time, this year. Consistency's been tough. They're a low-scoring team on the defensive side of the puck. For them to be successful, they have to rely on defense. And if they do end up playing a team like the RoughRiders, Their last game went to overtime. The Junior Flyers came away with that one. But the Rough Riders are a high-scoring team, so you have to slow them down early because they're one of those teams with Ishizuka and Bella and those boys. They can, 3 or 4 goals, make a couple of mistakes, and within 5 minutes, they have 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah.
Have strong goaltending. I really like Aaron Hansen this year. I think he's one of the best. It doesn't show because the Junior Flyers are, a lower seed this year. But I think he's a great goaltender for the Junior Flyers. They rely heavily on their defense, and then they just try to on their opportunities when they get them. And if they play as much as, as cliche as it is, to be as mistake-free as possible, because when, the Rough Riders are really good at forcing turnovers, and they put them into the back of the net quick.
Well, I can't pull for one team over the other. I hope you can get one more game, but whether you can or whether you can't, I'll guarantee you we'll have you on the podcast one more time with Jeff and Brittany before the finals here, so we can help give us some analysis before the finals. How about that?
Hey, sounds awesome. I love those guys. Jeff's a good guy. I've known him for years. Brittany's doing a good job with you guys as well, marketing the league and everything. So I'm always open for that.
Okay, so no matter what happens, we'll get you on the pre-Frozen Finals podcast, all right?
Sounds like a plan. You got my number.
Thanks, man.
All right, Neil. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to the Junior Flyers for jumping on the podcast this week. First, it was Jerry Domish and Billy McDevitt. Then a separate segment with Joe Sindoni. Had to make sure I included Joe as been the broadcaster with the Junior Flyers since 2013. So I'm hoping that we can find a new broadcasting home for Joe, but we could figure that one out in the off season. But now it's time to bring in my E-crew, Jeff and Brittany. Recording this a little bit later this week, but with a good reason. I wanted to make sure that we recorded it the day that it dropped, because now we have a few more seeds finally finalized.
Took long enough.
That we do, and we have to, obviously, at the beginning of this, say a happy birthday to our commissioner, Neil Ravin. His birthday was on Tuesday.
Yeah.
We got to celebrate.
HBD, Neil, you're an old man.
Birthday, man. You're 1 year away from 30, buddy.
Hey, and it was Cody's birthday the other day, too.
Oh, happy birthday.
The same day as Neil, HBD Codestar.
Yeah.
Look at you two.
I'm starting to actually feel old when there's coaches in the league that are younger than me.
Actually, how old did Cody turn?
Cody turned 28. So
he's only 1 year younger.
He's only 1 year. But now I'm like,
that's crazy.
Now we're starting to get coaches younger than me, and I'm like, I've been in this league for a few years now. This is my 5th year. So it's funny though. In the group text that I'm in with Rich, Cody, Hooley, and Sorella, Rich says happy birthday, and I say thanks, Rich. Happy birthday, Cody. And then Rich goes, it's his birthday also? No, Rich, I just texted that in the group for no reason. Like, yes, it's his birthday.
You're just saying happy birthday to yourself. Hey, happy birthday, me.
I was like, no, Rich, come on, man. Let's get it together. That's funny.
Yeah, so, is Cody our youngest coach? I think he is.
Well, in the E.
E, that's true. Yes. EHLP, we get some younger.
I think Vinny's probably the youngest in the P.
Yeah.
From the Avalanche. So, but with that, we're ready to go. Let's start making our way around the E-Show.
It's time for this week's segment of Around the E-Show.
And there are a few more seeds finalized. We'll keep working down the way we have in the past from the north on south, starting in the EHL. What I find fascinating is Rich won 39 games this year and got 80 points. Where do you think those numbers would rank among the all-time best teams in the league?
Probably like second or third, because there was that good Junior Flyers team, right? That's when Giacobo was the goalie, right?
Little Flyers.
Darn, sorry. ALO, don't come from my throat. How to make my ALO comment. Hey, really? I actually knew that because the dad literally owned the team. Okay, anyways, that was really stupid. And then there was LF last year.
Yes, which I totally forgot about this last year. The Little Flyers team last year actually won 40 games and did not set the record for wins in a year.
Did the other Little Flyers team?
The Revolution did. 27.
Was that the year when they were in Providence?
Yes, they won 41 games that year.
Was that the Primo brothers?
Was that?
Year?
No, that was our first year in Providence.
Was the first Providence year. The Primo teams, record-wise, were not – I mean, they were good, but they were not as good as you would think. But last 2 years ago, 2017-18 Revolution won 41 games. Last year, Little Flyers won 40 games. And now the Rangers this year became the 5th team in league history to win 39.
Oh, and I said top 5. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
At least
so the tough thing is we've had a different
crazy
number of games per year each year, but they've always hovered around 46 or so. So it's pretty equal in that. The 80 points puts them in a tie for 5th. Actually, the Little Flyers team that you're thinking of, Brittany, that Giacobo, Sam Canny, 2016-17 season, had 83 points that year, same as 2 years ago, Revolution. That's the record, 83 points. So,
how many games did the Revolution play that year, Neil? Did they play 46?
I want to say we played 48, but I could check on that.
Okay, so Rich might have a gripe here. I'm just trying to get out in the front of it. Hey, wait a minute. You guys played more games, so I can't, change that.
But what was really interesting is the game against the Chiefs, which was last Thursday, a week ago, didn't mean anything. That game against the Avalanche that we all had no idea what he was going to do, he still won the game. But
in a shootout.
Yeah.
Tight. And then they win yesterday against the Express in a game, the 3rd game in a row. That means nothing for his team. So I have to give them credit. Like it was
a great game.
It's not like they just got to this point of the year, so we've won everything that we could possibly win. Let's roll over to the playoffs. Like they hit what's now going to be, I estimate, about a 16-day layoff, like playing their best hockey.
Yeah, both 1-goal games, and your bold pick of Carlos Reyes-Reba, AKA Baby Reba, came in.
Oh
big.
My gosh!
42
you should have
saves
seen me yesterday. Yesterday, I saw him, and I was like, "Baby Reba!" Oh, I love him. He's so adorable.
Wish we could send that meme out that Justin sent us the other day of the little baby in pads. I was like, "Wait, is that someone's kid?"
I was trying to find it and show Rich yesterday, but I just couldn't.
There he is. What a performance by him.
Of course, Rich. Oh, so that game that you were at yesterday, Brittany, I guess Cody jokingly said to Bill Zanaboni, I have Rich's number.
I know. I already heard the story, but if Jeff wants to hear it, go ahead.
Did you see the piece of paper that Rich
Yes. Come on. Rich is my best friend, okay? This man tells me the stories before you hear them.
Rich wrote his phone number on a piece of paper and handed it to Cody after the game.
No, he didn't. He didn't actually do it.
Oh, he didn't. Okay, he put it in the group text then. He's like, just so you have it or something like that. And
Cody was rattled after the game yesterday. So
Cody texted me and goes, "I'm so in his head, it's not even funny."
Well, anyone that knows Cody's demeanor too, Cody and Rich are the exact opposite. Cody's very one face, calm, one level, he's a very level person, and then Rich is very, he's amped up.
See, and that's why Rich is my twin because we are both.
Did any clipboards die yesterday, or we all?
No, there was no reason. If anyone was breaking a clipboard yesterday, it was Cody.
Good job, Coach Rich.
Brittany, do your impression of Rich during a game.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh.
The arm shut up.
You should have heard them. I don't know what was going on yesterday. There was something with too many men, and one of the lines we couldn't call it or something. And then Rich was like, "Hello, somebody come over here, please."
I'll call it for you. Too many men.
And it was just so funny. I was recording video yesterday, so I was in the penalty box because the penalty boxes in Walpole do not have glass. So I was in the penalty box next to the Rangers bench, and it's always interesting commentary that I hear throughout the game.
Any pucks come your way?
In the line of fire, Britt.
No.
Did you wear a helmet?
No.
Wow, look at you.
I know. And I had no backup goalie next to me. Yeah. Usually I would have, at the Avs game, I had LaRusso, and he was saving me when I did that. But I didn't have anyone. I protected myself.
No Ledoux yesterday? He wasn't back there?
Well, she was on the Rangers side. So.
I was on the Rangers side, and Baby Reba was on the other side.
I heard he made a save in the bench, but unfortunately that doesn't count for me. So
yeah, Justin was watching the game, and obviously you could see me, but I didn't even see that. Well, I also couldn't really see that.
We can put it under review, Neil.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get it later.
They are going to probably start their second round series on the 14th or so. That's Saturday night. in March. So
it's so late. It's so far away.
I mean, they hit the first round bye break, whatever you want to call this, playing well. So we'll see what that break does for them. What's really interesting there, we did not assume anything, but we said, if Vermont takes care of business the way they should against Valley, they'll finish at 69 points. They did just that by pushing off when we're going to record this to when we did. It's now so clean and simple for Chris. I knew it would come.
All he has to do
win, and you're in.
Win. He cannot get just a point. He has to win the game.
Yep.
And now it's kind of like, it's really interesting because Vermont played this past Sunday.
Yeah.
And I understand you want the first round bye. But this past Sunday to the earliest March 12th, if you have that first round bye, that's a long time to sit and wait. But if you do fall to 3, you know that there's a possibility that you draw the Wolves. So, like, are you cheering for, because the Wolves are involved, right? The Wolves are playing the Avalanche Sunday at 1:30. Like,
right.
How do you want that game to go? Do you need the rest? Do you want the Wolves? You can't look past your first round series no matter what. Obviously you think in the back of your mind, if we get the first round bye, whether we do or we don't, if we get past the first round, we're going to get the Avalanche. Do we want that on the road or at home?
Obviously, they want it at Letty.
So you have to just hope the Wolves bring it Sunday.
And I feel like at this point in time in the year, too, we've talked about it ad nauseum. There's so much parity, Neil Britt, with this New England Conference that it's kind of like pick your poison. I mean, you're going to get – if you end up having to play in that first round, you don't get that bye. You're going to end up playing – tough competition no matter what. So,
and the tough part is, so Vermont Avalanche 1 or 2-3, we'll find out on Sunday. Ultimately, the Wolves at the beginning of the week had a chance to go all the way to 4, but now they're locked into 6. So it's almost like, what Wolves team are the Avalanche going to get on Sunday?
They've been sliding a little bit, too. 4 and 6 in the last 10. Not really.
They had a tough schedule down the stretch.
They did.
Do you both want to show off your Wolves jerseys?
Yes. Not that anyone at home can see. But hi, I have my Wolves jersey.
Thank you, Coach Trimble. I'm wearing a proud, buddy.
And I got a coat. I got a coat, too.
Yeah, I only got this. I remember.
I got a coat and a hat.
So what's interesting for them, right? I don't want to skip over the Seahawks and Express too soon, but for the Seahawks, they play the Spartans today. Express play the Railers. If they finish tied, the Express have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks, but they're all still trailing by 1 point. So we'll watch which one of those gets to be the 4 seed, which one gets to avoid the play-in round, and which one has to play in the play-in round. But then you slide back, so that takes care of.
So the Seahawks would have to lose, and Walpole would have to.
Well, if the Seahawks lose in overtime or a shootout, no matter what, Walpole really has to get at least a point. If Walpole loses the game, it's over. Walpole has to get at least a point and get a little bit of help from Seacoast. But that's where it gets so interesting, right? So, like, the Seahawks play Seacoast today.
Right. At 2.
If you're Seacoast, you're 8. Who do you want in the 5-8 matchup? It's the same way if you're the Wolves playing the Avalanche on Sunday, you know that you're already in the play-in game against the Wizards. So if you win that game, you're going to get the 3 seed. Who do you want? Avalanche or Lumberjacks? There's a positive.
I would want the Lumberjacks if I'm the Wolves.
There's one positive to each. So the Wolves are in the Lumberjacks' back pocket, or whatever the saying is that the Vermont players.
That is the saying. That is the saying. We'll fight, yay.
There'll be some baseball games if those two play.
But if you play Vermont, every game's in Vermont.
Right.
If you play the Avalanche, you go back and forth.
Right.
But
which almost does that back and forth too much, too. Like, wouldn't you rather just stay in one location?
And that's
but Hook said to Laconia it's like 45 minutes.
And the Avalanche have the Wolves, or I'm tongue twisting myself. The Avalanche have owned the Wolves this year. They've owned the season series. They were up 5-0 and they looked, or 4-0 the other day, and they looked really good. So
they've gotten hot at the right time. They're arguably the hottest team in this league right now, next to the 87s.
Yeah. It's just every year the playoff seeds come down to the end, here or there. Often you see a battle for like the last teams in. But recording this on February 27th, the seeds that are clinched are 1, 6, 7, 8. Like what?
Weird.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But that's what we got going on up north. Shifting gears down south.
We had this conversation yesterday.
The seeds that are clinched are
technically speaking
1 and 8. Oh, sorry, 1 and 6.
But 2 is basically going to be the Revolution.
Let's go through this. 1 we know is the 87s. Done.
Right, done.
Yep.
The only way the Revolution lose the 2 seed.
Ready? Get this.
Is if they lose. Actually, I think it's over now because they beat the Junior Flyers yesterday. Backtrack.
Oh,
sorry.
They have 2 games left.
Yes. If they had lost to the Junior Flyers, Jeff, they would have had to lose to the 87s.
Yeah.
And then lose to North Carolina on Monday. And then the RoughRiders would have had to beat the Apple Corps by 46 goals.
Oh, that's it?
So when John Ruger calls me this past week and goes, why haven't you posted about us clinching the 2 seed yet? I go, John, technically speaking, you have it. It's kind of like antibacterial, like hand sanitizer. It's like 99.9% you've clinched it. But technically, if the RoughRiders just play against an empty net for 60 minutes, RoughRiders could technically get it. That being said, Revolution beat the Junior Flyers 1-2 lot, 3 lot RoughRiders, 4-5. Little Flyers are done where they're at. Maryland has 2 games left against North Carolina. Maryland will be the 4 seed most likely. So jumping over the Little Flyers just makes Little Flyers 5 and the Junior Flyers 6. So that conference,
the South is basically done.
Yes,
locked.
And we'll just say that there was a playoff series that got scheduled. I don't want to call it prematurely, but a coach on the podcast today already had scheduled his playoff series because he beat me to the math, he said, and there was not a very high probability that it would be anything else. So, Jerry, I love you. I love that you scheduled your playoff series about a week and a half ago.
Jerry.
Gotta love Jerry. Jerry's world.
Let's just say
I cannot wait to listen to the Jerry segment. It's going to be so good.
He goes,
Same.
A team has to win by 46 goals. The earth would fall off its axis, Neil. I was like, oh, my God.
I love Jerry. I love him.
The science guy.
Yeah, so really what's left then is just to see if Maryland completes the 2-game sweep of North Carolina and then to figure out what 2 through 5 looks like in the North. To put you 2 on the spot, did the Avalanche win Sunday against the Wolves?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So
sorry, Andrew. Andrew, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. As we're both wearing Wolves gear, yes, Avalanche beat the Wolves. Ooh.
Yes, I'm sorry.
But it could help the Wolves because if the Wolves get through the Wizards, they get the Lumberjacks. So they've won 3 or 4 against this year, and they would have
it's
to
kind
feel
of
confident
funny.
going into that.
Wait, Neil, aren't we going to Wizards Wolves tomorrow? Not the play-in game, but just like a game
On Friday.
Yeah,
Wizards
tomorrow.
Wolves, a game that means nothing. So it's like,
Tomorrow's Friday.
what do you do in that game?
Right.
So I can't skip too far ahead to fantasy, but that's what makes this upcoming stretch so hard. Like the games don't really mean that much.
Right. That's always kind of hard to pick for fantasy too. Obviously, we won't get to it yet, but
yeah, it's tough. But that's the EHL. In the EHLP, the Rangers have officially clinched the number 1 seed in both the EHL and the EHLP New England Conference.
Is that good?
I don't know if that's been done before. I know the regular.
Is that good?
I know the regular season championships have never been won by the same team in the same year, the same organization, if you will. And the Rangers will do that with a sweep this weekend of the Valley Junior Warriors.
Yeah, congrats to them.
Yep, congrats.
What a failure of a season, though, Neil. Johnny Malandrucolo was 6 goals shy of 60. I mean, he only scored 54 goals, had only 101 points in 38 games. Oof.
But the record for goals, hold please.
Oh, here we go.
The record for goals for the year is 57. So he's got to get 4 in 2 games this weekend. Boy. And like we said, you still have to show up. You still have to win. But the Valley Premier team has struggled throughout the year. My itinerary for Saturday night consists of going to call the Warriors-Wizards EHL game at 7:10, and then I will have the EHLP regular season championship trophy in my car to drive to Tewksbury.
Good job! Yeah,
just made Sean Wall so proud.
7:45. I think that they play 8:20 Friday night against the Warriors in Haverhill, and then 7:45 Saturday.
That is so late.
At 8:20.
If I had to play a game at 8:20 p.m., I would be asleep.
Yeah, you'd bring your pillow on the bench.
Right. Good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
I just have a feeling that I'll be driving to Tewksbury Saturday night on my way home to just stop, take a quick picture. And then, hey, you know what? That's pretty cool to win both regular season championships in a year.
Congratulations to them.
That's pretty cool.
That is.
Go off, Mike Sorabella.
That's everybody's goal at the beginning of the year. Is if you have an EHL and EHLP team, is to get both teams. Rich says that all the time. So I mean that goal was accomplished very well, and we're excited to see both those teams in the playoffs for sure.
So it comes with a lot of pressure, though.
It does. Like big target.
You win both. Now it's kind of like it's almost like, how far does each team have to go to make it seem like it wasn't a failure? It's a success. Like if both teams make it to Providence after winning the regular season championship, probably a half a success. I would say at least one team has to get into a championship game.
I would say we would say it's a success, and Rich will not. I mean, Rich is basically, he's saying championship.
Rich is like, let's win it all, people.
Yeah. I mean, he knows the most important season is now. I mean, he said that in all of his posts that he's made since then. Congratulations to our regular season, but now the real work begins, and that's the truth.
And then from there, as interesting as 2 through 5 is in the EHL, so is 2 through 4 in the EHLP.
Yeah, we're not going to know until the Sunday.
We're not going to know until Sunday. So,
because the Wolves play the Avs again for like the 17th time in a week, as in third.
Tough
they love
schedule
each other at this point.
Just so everyone can know at home, because of the odd number of teams and really probably the toughest scheduling process that I had to go through in 4+ years, 5 years, actually. The Avalanche play 43 games. Everybody else in their conference plays 42. Everybody in the South plays 41 in the Premier. So there is some unbalance to it. So with that being the case, if one team plays more games than the other, then you can't go by points. So we go by what's called a points percentage, where you divide the number of points that you earned out of how many you could have earned. So for the Avalanche, it's the Avalanche versus Wolves. If the game goes to overtime, I'll have to get the calculator out. But say it ends in regulation, whoever wins that game most likely will be the 2 seed. The Railers are hoping for, I would imagine, some sort of overtime. I'd have to do the math out. They'd have to win their game as well. But most likely the 2 seed will either be the Avalanche or the Wolves, earning a first-round bye, and probably home ice in that 2-3 matchup if the 3 seed can get through the 6 seed. Most likely Railers 4, Vermont 5. That 6-7 play-in game matchup is the Express versus the Chiefs. And what's nice is that's our first playoff game already scheduled. Wednesday the 4th at 4:20. A great job by everyone involved. We already have the schedule.
Wow.
It was amazing how quickly they did that. I was like,
thanks, Brandon.
I didn't have to even reach out. The email, I log into my email one day, there's 7 emails going on, and boom, there's the time. Place, location, everything. I'm like, okay, here we go. So the South is – the Little Flyers are done, right? Yeah, I have 41 games. They're done. The 87s play – looks like the Revolution 2 more times.
Nice.
And they get 1 win in that, and they will effectively clinch the number 1 seed down there, earn a first-round series with the Renegades, meaning the Little Flyers play the Revolution. And while there's about a 20-point gap between those 2 teams in the regular season, you look at all their recent games, they're all by 1 goal every time.
Yeah, they're not blowing them out.
Most of them, yeah.
No, the Little Flyers have come away victorious, I would say, almost every time. But you get in these
they're close games.
Yes, you get in these 1-goal games in the playoffs.
It could be scary.
A bounce here or there. We may see the Revolution in Providence.
Like 2 Rev teams in Providence, 2 PJR teams. That could be crazy.
Listen
Revs are trying to go out with a bang too. I mean, this is it for them.
Oh, we could have 2 Rev, 2 87s, 2 BJR.
Oh,
yeah.
Could. It's possible. It's possible.
Wouldn't that be weird
getting ahead of myself. But.
In a year of like so much parity, wouldn't it be weird if we end up having like 3 organizations out of the 4 in the Providence?
Oh gosh,
that would make no sense whatsoever.
What's funny though is, but based off what Brittany just said.
Oh, we could have 2 Avs too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I started to get to. This could be 2018 all over again. 2018 was in the EHL. It was the Rangers, Avalanche, Little Flyers, Revolution. Those are the 4 EHL teams.
Okay.
In the Premier, it was Rangers, Junior Flyers.
Whoa.
We could have a lot of similar teams to that year.
Well, Junior Flyers doesn't exist.
Yes.
Will we or won't we? Tune in to find
out. But
just
to go over those Little Flyers Revolution games, if you
in the
P.
Yes.
If you take out the 3-0 shutout win for the Revolution, and you take out the 6-0 shutout win for the Little Flyers, the other 6 games, I'm not going to even bother to tell you who won the games. There was 1 Rev, I think, and the rest were Little Flyers. But here's the scores: 4-3, 5-4, 4-3, 3-2 in overtime, 6-5 in overtime, 4-3. So not to say that the 87s or whoever gets the Renegades is going to be an easier series, but
it's an easier series.
Okay, you said it, not me.
On paper, we'll clarify as we always do.
Right. As you do on paper.
The 2 of those games just came recently last week, so I mean they've seen each other recently. That's always a big thing too. I mean, what was the last taste in your mouth when you saw that team? And I don't know. Playoffs are different beast. One little different
I can't wait. I'm excited. Come on, Neil. Let's go to Philly. Anyone want to go to Philly? Come on, let's do a quick trip. I'm ready.
There's not going to be that many games.
Oh, okay. I'll go alone. Thanks.
There's really not going to be that many games in Philly this year.
Yeah, there is, dude.
There's going to be a few.
You want?
All right, Brett. We'll squeeze it in. We'll do a 24-hour trip down and back.
Well, what's funny is, I know we each think that the Rangers are going to beat the Warriors twice in the Premier, win the regular season championship.
Yeah.
They probably could. They probably will. If they don't, I have to go to New Jersey to go present the trophy to them if they sweep.
Oh, I'm coming. Ooh. I'm literally coming.
Like,
oh my gosh, I'm coming.
And I was like, wait a second. It didn't even hit me till the other day. I was like, there's a chance I got to go to New Jersey on Sunday.
Wait, so if they lose one, this is not.
If they lose one game and the 87s win both, done. I got to go to New Jersey.
Okay, I mean.
Oh, this just in: Johnny Mandrucolo scratched the last 2 games. Rich just texted me.
Hey, on paper.
Yes, Rich is probably tapped in right now, listening to us record this live. It's like, Jeff, why would you say that? But
get up to 60 goals.
There's only so many games left each division. There are still some important points in the line for some teams, but this is a great transition into what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
And why it's such a great transition is because it made our fantasy picks so hard this week.
It took me like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Well, you also went last, so. But
rightfully so after that big week last week.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Oh,
we have to make sure it's clear. Whoever has the highest weekly total has to start going last because that screwed me the last 2 weeks.
Nuts.
And the biggest key I'll give to each of you this past week is the fact that you had each goaltender play 3 times.
Yep. Winner. Matt Lane only played twice.
He played 3 times.
Am I okay?
And Falcon played 3 out of 4 games.
Wait, he played 3 times?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he did. I was literally present for 2 of them. That's why I was not present for the third. All right.
It's okay. He beat the Wizards, lost to the Avalanche or the
Rangers
I was in a shootout, and then beat.
Oh wait, I wasn't at 2 of them.
So think about this, Jeff. Brittany goes out like a wagon and puts up 47 points.
Yeah, hey, again, 47 points, everybody. I set the new weekly record with my first team all Avalanche.
Wait, that was 49. 47?
No, because Chris Sorella had to change one of the assists, and I was like, sir, why can't we just leave it with what the people in the score box said? I mean, whatever. But yeah, my first team all Avalanche, 47 points. Thank you, Tim Cronin.
She just set a record.
Matt Lane, my people.
What was the previous high before that? Was it close?
I think it was your week.
Was it mine last week?
Yeah, I think so. No, didn't somebody get like 41 or something?
I think
I had 41 once. Yes.
Oh, okay. So
right.
Yeah.
So that was close.
Bow down, people.
Almost 50 points.
To address Brittany's comment about the assists, unfortunately, I don't have time to review every single assist in the entire league.
Oh, you don't?
But no comment on the assists any further. Anyways, what's nuts is if the Avalanche win that shootout against the Rangers, tack on another 5 points for Brittany.
Yeah, I literally, I was so angry.
I
was watching the shootout, and I was like, come on, Cam Barbagallo, you've already been the shootout hero once. Let's do it again, buddy. And he didn't, so I was a little rattled.
So,
Britt had that power play going, too. Jeez.
Yep. Power play.
The power play. Thank you, all the Wolves, for getting in the box 75 times on Sunday. Dude, even Andrew said it on the broadcast. Andrew Trimble also, shout out for calling the game Sunday. Incredible work. That was phenomenal.
Ooh, Coach Trimble getting a play-by-play game? I like this.
He did. I turned it on, and I was like, great. And I was like, oh, my God, this is Andrew Trimble on the call. And I was like, oh, this is going to be phenomenal.
Ooh. I'm going to have to log back into Hockey TV and maybe check that out.
No, if you look at the Wolves, they couldn't stay out of the box on Sunday.
Tuesday.
No, yeah. Why do I keep thinking it's Sunday? This week is messed up. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we're recording this at an awkward time, but it did really benefit the fact that the Avalanche played 4 times, 9 points for Tim Cronin, 14 points for Jake Mendezoon, 20 for Matt Lane. I like nice, even hold numbers. Lane had 100 saves.
That's my dog.
1-0-0.
Double done.
So Brittany. Her fantasy team is alive. It had a very slow pulse before, but now it's got a pulse.
It was creeping around death.
Wait, how many points am I behind now?
You're at 114.2.
Okay.
I am only 20 or 19.8 points ahead. Really,
guys, did you hear that? Guys, everybody at home, nobody's texting me this week. My fantasy team is done. Chris Canale, I don't want to hear it. Alo, I don't want to hear it. Sean Walsh, I do not want to hear it. I don't.
I was looking forward to this, by the way. I was looking forward to Brittany getting on her soapbox and screaming, "Scream it, girl. You earned it."
Legit. Every week it's like, you're embarrassing. Alex Jasek, do not text me.
This just in, this will be a 3-horse race. Brittany
So
I don't know how confident I am with my picks this week, but that's fine.
But it's a tough week. We're all kind of,
as long as I surpassed the combined 2 points that Sava Smirnov and Corey Doney got me.
Yeah.
Corey, who did ask if a black guy counted for any points, I said no.
Oh yeah, how's your? Are you guys still best friends? Or
Oh God, he's like
relationships.
He's like you could pick me again in the postseason. I was like,
oh okay.
But 20.8 points for Carlos Reyes Reba, baby Reba.
Good job, baby Reba.
That was good. So I'm at 134. Jeff in the lead now, 142.4. Rickett and Kimmel didn't do much. 9 points combined. Falkenstadt.
See, you should have picked Nick Kimmel.
I know. That's what Justin said too, but
I said that as well. I was like, you should have picked Cal Mel.
He had a big game yesterday too. Didn't he have 2 goals in that Rangers game? I think he did.
Who, Rickett?
Nick Kimmel did.
Oh, Nick? No, I think he had 1.
Nick, don't call me Noah Kimmel.
Yeah.
They're the nicest kids in the world.
So this week's picks are today through Monday. So just 5 days. That's all that's left in the regular season. Games that mean something for some people, but not for others. So for me, I'm going Chance Gorman at forward against the Wolves on Friday and the Warriors on Saturday. It's finally my turn because I'm picking first. I get to pick Jake Mendezoon. You can stop stealing him, Brittany. Every week that you've had him selected, I've had him circled on my notes also.
And then he comes up huge for me. Huge. Jake Mendezoon, you're not allowed to get any points this week.
Oof. Chris has removed Mendezoon from the power play. Anyways.
Yes. Jake Mendezoon is not on the power play.
But they only have one game. So I'm just hoping the power play stays clicking on Sunday against the Wolves. And then I have Zach Richmond in goal from Team Maryland. I would imagine between him and Peter Siolis, I would imagine Josh Fuss is going to split them so they each get one more game before the playoffs. So give me a shutout. And then we'll go now. Since I'm going first because I had the least amount of points last week, it's now Jeff's turn.
It is my turn. So let's see. We're going with Mr. Tristan Mock, who Neil just said. Team Maryland's got 2 games left, and I'm hoping for big things from Mock. And then let's see. Defense, I got Jacob Ida from the Avs. I needed to sprinkle in one Av, and since Mendezoon wasn't available on D, we're going to go with Jacob Ida, who's been a strong defensive player. He's got a good amount of points, chips in on the power play. And then I wanted to go with Falcon again, but the Express only have 1 game left, so I was taking my chances. Dylan Weimer and the Wizards have 2 games left. Hopefully he's going to play 2. So we're going to go with Dylan Weimer in the crease from the good old Wizzies. And then looks like Britt, over to you.
I picked for my forward of the week. I mean, he did get forward of the week. Wait,
she's already calling it.
I didn't even mean to say it. No, he got forward of the week last week, John Pearson. From the Rev. They played the 87s, which is going to be – see, I don't know. I don't know what Adam's going to do, so I don't really know. But that doesn't mean anything for them either, supposedly. And then they play North Carolina. So I'm expecting like 9 points on Monday. I don't know. Defense, we picked Zachary Papa Petros on the Wizzies. We all have – Papa points, yes. We all have someone on the Wizards. Each one of us took somebody on the Wizards.
I think we all picked somebody. We've all picked somebody.
Yeah, come on, Freddie. Woo! And ready. And then for goal, I picked Matt Lane again. I'm riding Matt Lane. Matt Lane, let's do this. Come on, brother.
Only 1 game left.
But you know he's playing because it means something for the Avalanche.
That's true.
Right. So Matt Lane, let's do this thing, brother. Dude, I was so angry. He had the shutout going, and then there was like, I don't know, 10 minutes left in the third period. I was like, are you kidding me? That is ridiculous.
So think about this, Jeff. He finishes the shutout against the Wizards, right? Because that was just 1 goal in that game also.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 more points.
Dude, I could
say he beats the Rangers for a win. That's 4 points. Top 5 team, another point. That's now 6 more points. If he holds on for the shutout on Tuesday, that's now 8 more points, and she's at 122. And all of a sudden, we're like, where did you just come from?
I know, Laner. We could have.
That would have been a 55-point week.
Matt Lane, Matt Lane.
Neil might have had to step down and.
I need Matt Lane. I need a win and a shutout. Okay, I'm sorry.
Actually,
Andrew. I'm sorry, Tim. I'm sorry, Wolfbite.
I didn't think about this properly the way Brittany did. I should have picked Falcon because the Express are still fighting for that home.
But they play horrible against Worcester. Sorry, Cody, but like the Express played so bad against what? They've literally gone to like a shootout and overtime with them. Like they do not.
And now it's time for Brittany's hot fire takes, everybody.
They don't. It's proven. They do not play good against. I'm going to look at the thing right now. Yeah, brought to you by Gel Sticks. The ha. That's kind of
hashtag fun. What up, John Lunsbury? See you this weekend against Holy Cross.
Anyways.
They only won by 1 goal in this game. Yes. No, we're doing this. I'm literally doing this right now. They won by 1 goal in this. They won by 1 goal in this. Was that a shootout? I don't know. Yes, it was. They won by 2 goals. Sorry, Cody. I don't know. I just don't trust it.
So,
all right.
Anyways, we're gonna wrap up a little bit earlier this week because now I'm gonna tell you guys the plan for next week.
Oh yeah.
2 podcasts.
Oh.
So we are going to
go home,
most likely record on Tuesday or so, and we're going to do 2 sets of fantasy picks. We're going to start with fantasy picks for the play-in games, and then we're going to record again once the play-in games are over with fantasy picks for the first round.
When do the play-in games need to be finished by? I should know the answer,
play-in
but
games are Wednesday and Thursday. So they could all get scheduled for Wednesday, and then we record Thursday. First round starts Friday. But most likely we'll drop the podcast Wednesday morning and Friday morning is what I think.
All right.
And record when, we'll find out. But what's interesting now is, remember, whoever goes first is based off the previous week's standings and whoever had the least amount of points. There's only 2 EHL play-in games. So that's only 4 goalies to choose from.
No. Oh, no. What do you,
So by the end of the day today, we'll know who 5 through 8 are. We know right now 6 Wolves, 7 Wizards, 8 Spartans. And it's almost like, do you pull for yourself not to have a good week so you can grab fill in the blank?
Oh. See, now we turn into the coaches. Now we got to play strategy. Do I want to lay down? Do I want to stand up?
Oh, no. I'm just thinking of the possible
we are going to start making playoff picks for the play-in round, first round, and second round. We're not
predictions
of the games. Who's going to win? Not scores.
Yes. Okay.
A win is 1 point, and then you'll get bonus points if you, like in the play-in round, if you get both games correct, you get a bonus point. In the first round, if you guess so-and-so will beat so-and-so in this many games, bonus point.
I like it. Okay. All right, Commish, I see you.
So today we'll finalize a couple more seeds and start doing your research because this is going to get hard next week.
Oh, goodness. I'm just thinking, oof.
So we're going to do the bracket kind of – you're going to kind of have I want to call it a first draft of the bracket. You'll be able to pick the play-in games, and we're going to outline kind of the full bracket from there. And then once we know exactly who won the play-in games, then we're going to publish each of our playoff brackets.
So EHL
bracketology. Justin, get the graphic going.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So we're going to pick who advances to Providence, and you'll get bonus
right now?
No.
Next week. Oh, I was like, oh my gosh.
I'm saying we're going to pick through Providence, but what I'm going to say, I don't want to pick play-in games and then one of us misses a play-in game and then the whole thing gets thrown off. We're going to pick the play-in games, and then we're going to publish our brackets once those are over.
Beautiful.
We're gonna pick through getting to Providence. We're not gonna pick the games in Providence because we are professional.
Makes sense. We're the crew.
Because we are professional, and there will be no jumping in front of the camera this year. If you know, you know.
Yes, exactly.
Jeff, do you remember?
Jumping in the camera.
Jumping in front of the camera when George Lewis texted me a screenshot of Hockey TV.
Yeah, Brittany just let a cheer go, which.
It was an accident. It was accidental. It was on accident. Yes, it was on accident.
As they say, Brett, act like you've been there before, kid.
Yeah.
Come on, year 3. Come on, year 3. It's going to be the best one thus far.
The 3 feet of air under her feet to the ground. Accidental. Totally.
It was on accident. It was
after a goal was scored. So
I'm excited to see what we can do. We've set the bar kind of high too. We've upped the ante every year. We've gotten better and better, more content. Now we get the
you know what? We're getting there earlier this year, so I'm ready. We have Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. 5 nights improv. Oh boy!
And on that note, Jeff,
come over and hang out.
Yeah,
we can.
And I was gonna say on that note, Brittany had to count that out on her fingers
for outfits.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, don't get me started.
She was on Perry Street the other day. I was like, oh, Britt's already shopping for outfits.
No, I didn't. I just got not Providence clothes.
All right.
I just got
some new swag.
Right. Yeah. It's 9:50. It's almost gym time, guys. Come on, we have to get on the gym grind if Providence is in 20-something days.
So
personal trainer, Brittany Hart.
We will be in touch on podcast 10. Record Tuesday-ish Podcast.
Wait, is that going to be a Just Us podcast, just the crew?
Yes.
Cool.
We're hitting double digits. We're getting there.
Can we invite Alo on?
Maybe.
That could be phenomenal.
Maybe he'll come on. Maybe he'll come on podcast 11 2 days later. So
yes, next week, Alo, what do you say?
2 podcasts next week. That was what I said. What I meant when I said I have a plan.
Yes, everyone, buckle your seatbelts.
Or as I would say,
lock
it in.
Lock it in.
Oh, time.
Well, thanks, guys. Let's see what happens today in the E Show. It's gonna be fun.
Sounds good.
See you later.
See you, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the E Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.